And now we welcome in this week's guest on the Giants Huddle podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. He is Giants starting left tackle Andrew Thomas. Andrew, what's going on, man?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for being with us today. How are you?
I'm doing great.
All right. Are you thrilled that the first question everyone asks you now is no longer, how's the foot doing?
That's definitely a great thing. It's about time, right?
Are you like? Do you still do extra work on it, or is it kind of like business as usual now?
Still have to do maintenance on it. It's a tough injury to come back from, but starting to feel like myself again.
How do you think you're playing when you kind of watch yourself on tape every week?
I would say solid. Got some things to clean up to feel like myself again. Last week I felt like wasn't my best showing, but you go back to the drawing board and clean up things, and hopefully play better next week or this week.
We see how you play, but I think probably for a player, there's a feel, right? Do you feel right going out there? How quickly did it come back for you? Was it like the first game where you played limited snaps? Did it take a couple games for it to feel natural and right again?
Honestly, when you're out there, you don't have time to think about it. You just, I would say, at the house or, in meetings, I'm thinking about, how will I respond when I'm back out there? But you don't have much time. Once the ball snaps, you just get back into it. It's kind of like muscle memory.
How about the line in general? How do you think the group has kind of come together quickly as now that same five that played pretty well, I think, at times over the last year or so has been back together?
Yeah, I think this group has so much potential, and some of that I think we haven't even tapped into yet. I think we've been, protecting really well. I think we could be dominant in the run game, and we're still working on that. Teams are playing us a little different now because of our early success. They're starting to move a little bit more. So once we start getting on the same page with that, I think we could be dominant.
When you say teams are playing you differently, how so?
Just more pressures, a lot of movement up front. We're really good at double teams, so they try to maneuver their front so you can't get as many double teams. Even Philly last week played us in different fronts than they did the first time to try to stop some of that.
That's interesting. When you say your group still has a lot of potential to be dominant, what are some of the areas that you still think you guys can take steps in to take that next step?
Yeah, I would say what I was just speaking about with the movement in the run game, just picking it up, opening up lanes, and then just straining in the pass game. Obviously, Dart does a great job off schedule, but that means that we have to block longer. So just doing a good job straining through the whistle.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the Dart things. I do think that's interesting. To the run game. Now, Cam Scatty was not there.
Yep.
And, he was really good. You guys do those double teams. He gets in behind you. And Noah was better with his low center of gravity, just falling forward an extra 2 or 3 yards if he play, right?
Yeah.
Tyrone is a guy that played behind you guys last year. More of a slasher type, right? Does that change the style in which you guys have to play up front, given the style of the running back might be a little bit different?
Not at all. Obviously, we miss Scat. He's a great player, and, wishing him the best. He's going to be back next year. But I have full confidence in our backs, Tracy and Motor. They are different running backs with their attributes, but that doesn't change the way we block. We have the same mentality, the same aiming points. And then once they get in space, that's when, you see the differences between each type of running back. But for us, we block it the same.
And I know this isn't your decision. These are the plays that get called. But do you think the frequency of the type of running plays might shift a little bit, whether it's maybe a little bit more gap stuff to create more space for the slasher rather than some of the power duo stuff that you were talking about before?
I wouldn't say much different. I think it's more dependent on who we're playing, what their scheme presents. And like I said, we get on our double teams, we get to the linebackers, and then once they get in space, it's up to them to make the move and win.
Huddle up, get in here. If you're lined up here, you gotta go over the middle with it to score.
Right. How do we make that happen?
I don't know.
But Citizens does.
Make sense of your money with Citizens, official bank of Eli Manning.
Is this about as good as you've seen this group play together, though, your line as a whole, do you think?
I would say so, and I would say a lot of that is, just due to the consistency of us, playing together. It's tough, with all the injuries, and, that's the nature of the league, but they're really good offensive lines. They spend a lot of time together. They play a lot of snaps together, and I think we're starting to gel.
I want to give you a chance to throw some love at some of your guys on the line. How about Jermaine Illuminor and the job he's kind of done at right tackle over the last couple of years? I feel like nobody talks about that quite enough.
Not at all. I think he's a great player. Sometimes I'll say it's tough to get praise as an offensive lineman, especially if you don't have that hype. I think he's bloomed later in his career, and I think he's playing really good ball right now. Even going back to last year when I got hurt, him switching over to left, people don't understand how hard that is, and I think he did it seamlessly. So hopefully he continues to play at that level and even better.
I want to ask about the guy that you play next to and you have to work in tandem with a lot, and that's John Runyon Jr. What makes him a guy that's fun to work with and good to work with as a fellow offensive lineman where you guys can do your job as one?
Yeah, I would say first with John, you're going to get the physicality. That's just how he plays. But overall, he's just a good football player. Like, he understands the schemes. And then we really didn't even get to play with each other that much last year. But I think we're still, communicating with games and stuff like that, just passing those things off cleaner. But I think we're, improving each and every week.
You see people on the outside throw around phrases like sacks allowed or pressures allowed and stuff like that. Do you guys have metrics in-house that you guys use in your room with your coaches that you use to judge whether or not you individually and as a group are playing well?
Yeah, we do. We don't have, I guess, necessarily grades, but we talk about pressures, hit sacks, missed assignments.
Sure.
That's how we, try to grade ourselves, if that makes sense.
So the offense has been leading into a lot more two tight end stuff after the Malik Neighbors injury.
Yep.
How does that impact you, if at all, as an offensive tackle, having a tight end next to you maybe a little bit more often than you have had before?
I would say the only difference is just me being in a three-point stance more often.
Okay.
Other than that, though, it's the same scheme. They're dressing up similar plays, especially in the passing game, because our tight ends are athletic. They can get out there and run routes. So we run, similar concepts that we would in different personnel groups. And in the run game, just the communication is the biggest thing. We're up-tempo on the ball, so just communicating with those guys each and every snap, because, they have to change spots, their motion and stuff like that. So just making sure we're all on the same page.
Have you seen maybe some bigger fronts against you guys with the two tight ends? You're seeing less sub against you and more base, and maybe just the ends even being a little bit wider too, right?
I would say we started off seeing more base, but I think it also depends which tight ends we have in the game, because they've seen the tape. They've seen that, our guys can run routes. So sometimes we do get sub to some of the heavier personnel because they know there's a threat of them, running routes.
All right, you mentioned this before, having to, I think I had, I talked to John Runyon in the locker room last week, and he said with Dart, you have to block to infinity.
Yeah.
That was the term that he used. For an offensive tackle, if maybe you don't quite know where your quarterback's going to be in the pocket, how does that affect not just the duration, but how you're blocking on any given play?
Yeah, I would say the starting off, Dart does a great job of getting to his landmark initially. I think that's the biggest thing. When we're taking our set, we're assuming where he's going to be.
Not too deep, right? He's not dropping back too far, right?
Not too deep and not too far in the pocket as well for the the guys in the middle. But once the play breaks down, that's up to him. He has a great feel for that, a great knack for that. So we just have to trust in our technique, know when to let go so we don't get holdings. And, like John said, block for infinity. You just go until you hear the whistle blow because he's able to make a play. I would say it's pretty fun when we're at home because you can hear the crowd start to get loud and it's like, okay, he's scrambling. So I know to let go or move around. On the road, it's a little tougher, but we just try to, block as long as we can because he's going to make a play.
How important is that for an offensive tackle? I think this is underrated too, for a quarterback not to set too deep so you can actually run some of those speed rushers around and understanding you're not going to run them right into your quarterback.
I would say almost 80% of offensive line play is angles. So just knowing where your quarterback is, you know where to set based on the defensive end's alignment and what's your technique depending on, if we're in a hot protection or if we're sorting. All those things are, it's kind of like geometry, you know what I mean? Like I know where he's at, I know where to set, and then after that you just play ball.
And I think the other part of it too, and one thing that we talked a lot about when the Giants drafted him, Dart doesn't run back and out of the pocket. He tends to run up and through the pocket, right? That must be great for an offensive lineman, knowing that he's not going to, you're blocking a guy outside and the guy's all of a sudden, the quarterback's not going to show up where you're blocking the guy, right?
Yeah, like I said, he has a great feel for it. I don't think that's something you can really coach.
Right.
It happens off schedule. You have no idea where any of the rushers are going to be, depending on, what they do, if they bring pressure or not. But he, has a good ability to find the hole, get there, escape, and then, make a play.
If you want to know how to manage 2 minutes of crunch time football, I'm your man. But if you're wondering about a long-term financial plan, you should talk to Citizens. Hey, I can also talk lawn care.
I'd like to learn about a mowing routine.
Yes, I knew I could help. Make sense of your money with Citizens.
Is it that playmaking or is it something else you think the reason why, since Dart's moved in at quarterback, I feel like the team's been better in some of these have-to-have-it situations, whether it's third down or red zone? Your numbers as a team have just been much better in the past 4 or 5 weeks. Why do you think that is?
I would say a lot of it starts with how well we were running the ball. I think that's a key. We talk about a stat all the time with Coach Dable and just talking about playing in the green. And basically that just means like you have early down success. So now you're in 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4s, and those are a lot more manageable than, 3rd and 10. You're seeing different type of exotic pressures and stuff like that. But now they have to play the run and the pass. And then you add into that Dart's ability to run. If we, have certain zone calls or certain gap schemes, the defense knows that it's a chance he can run the ball. So that keeps them honest. And then in the pass game, I would say he does a great job getting the ball out of his hands. And when he does hold it, he's making a play. Scrambling, I think that puts pressure on the defense as well.
Two quick follow-ups on that. One, how important is it for an offensive line to have good game flow? When I say game flow, I mean not being in third and long and playing with a lead where the other team can't just play pass. How does that change things for you?
I say it's very important. It's really tough when they know it's a pass, but at the end of the day, that's the league, and the teams that make it to the Super Bowl, they hold up in those situations.
Sure.
So there will be times where we will be in those situations and we have to hold up, but playing with a lead is definitely preferable, I would say, for us up front. You get to run the ball, play action, and hit some shots. And
then you referenced this a little bit in your couple answers ago. In the red zone, it's tough to throw. I mean, there's no getting over the top. You can't stretch the field vertically, right? If you want to be a good red zone team, do you have to be a good rushing team? Is that basically where we are now in the National Football League?
You have to be a good rushing team, but I think you also have to be creative, and I give credit to our staff with coming up with game plan runs each and every day, because like you said, the space is so condensed. You can't just run your normal things. There has to be, I wouldn't say gimmicks, but there has to be some eye candy to your runs, different motions, different formations to find a gap in the defense.
All right, let's get to the opponent this week. When you look at Robert Saleh and what he does on the defensive front, they have some new players coming in now, so maybe you don't know how they're going to use the new guys, Keon White, Cleveland Farrell, those guys, but they've had so many injuries. So how do you, when you see what he's doing up front with his defensive line, what do you see?
I would say they obviously play the rush crush style of defense. Like they're penetrating up front, they run to the ball. I think they're number 1 or number 2 in the league in turnovers, punching the ball out. So they play hard through the woods. So I would say, like you said, it's kind of tough personnel-wise because you don't know exactly what you're going to get. But from what I've seen on tape, it doesn't matter who's in. They all play with that same style. So we know we have to be physical, have good pad level, and strain as long as they are.
Traditionally, Saleh does not like the blitz, right? But have we seen him do a little bit more of that the last couple weeks, knowing he doesn't have Nick Bosa sitting out there that can win one-on-one? Are we seeing more stunts, more blitzes and stuff like that from them on tape?
Yeah, third down is when it gets kind of crazy. It's like a 50% chance. You don't know exactly what you're going to get. And obviously, we're studying our tape, trying to predict, what they may do. And obviously, they'll have something game plan for us, and we just have to trust our rules.
Are you ready for some Georgia on Georgia violence in the trenches with you and Mikel this week?
No, it's big exciting. He's a great player. I actually, didn't get to meet him. I was gone. I'm an old head.
I was going to ask that, yeah.
I'm an old head now, but no, he's done a great job. Obviously, he has a ton of talent, early pick. So I'm excited for the matchup.
I look forward to seeing it too. Andrew, good luck this week, and can't wait. And by the way, I should ask you this. It's a home game. You mentioned this before. How much fun has it been winning those last couple games at home and just how well the team has played and seeing how the crowd is kind of galvanized behind this group this year?
Yeah, it's the best thing ever. You want to have that home advantage. Like we go on the road, it's loud, it's a tough environment to play in. So we need to create that at home, and the only way you do that is to win. So hopefully we continue to do that.
Andrew, good stuff, my man. Thank you. Andrew Thomas on the Giants Huddle podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. We'll see you next time.